Thank you very much for joining us, Ms. Andersen. What outcomes are expecting from this year's UN Environment Assembly?
So we have a number of resolutions that are on the docket, so to speak. Pollution is one. How are we going to deal with air pollution? 7 million people die prematurely every year from air pollution. So how can we step up? I know that this is a global problem, but many countries, including China, are really leaning in and finding solutions to this problem. So how can we learn from each other and making sure, so pollution is one example, making sure that we will have clean air. But there are other resolutions, for example, nature-based solutions. How can we invest in nature so that nature can give us back? So how can we ensure that we have vibrant ecosystems? It's a little bit similar to the Chinese redlining, where we have, what you can do and how you can restore biodiversity. So there's a lot of emphasis on that, as well as a number of resolutions that deal with chemicals and mining, because we are going to need a lot of new materials, lithium, copper, etc. And we need to find that in the mines, obviously, but how can we ensure that we do the mining sustainably? Also, circular economy, probably the last example I will mention. Today, we take, we make, and we waste. How can we be more circular about it? How can we ensure that the things we will now be wasting, we're not wasting, but we are reusing? So I think these are some of the issues that we will have on the table, and I hope that all these resolutions will be passed.
What are some of the most thorny issues during the plenary session that are hampering multilateral efforts, and what could be the solutions?
So it's always difficult if you have 193 dinner guests that they all should agree. Here we have 193 member states, and they come with different realities, different priorities, different interests. But that's the beauty of multilateralism. How can we make sure that there's room for everybody? There's some that have certain economic interests or certain political interests, but we need to accommodate us all because we live on this one planet that we share, and we need to find a way of working together. When we have problems, the only way that we can solve some of these environmental problems is by collaboration. If you have climate change, I have climate change. It doesn't stop at your border or my border. If I put plastic in the oceans, the next thing you have my plastic in the oceans. So we need to find these multilateral solutions. Yes, I recognize that there are political differences in the world of today, and yes, that can bring complexity, but that does not belong inside the United Nations Environment Assembly. In this assembly, we're dealing with the science, we're dealing with the evidence, and we're dealing with the policies that the world needs to implement so that we can have a sustainable planet.
What do you make of the role of China at this year's UN Environment Assembly?
China has been a phenomenal partner with the United Nations Environment Programme and with our multilateral environmental agreements. China hosted the Convention for Migratory Species. China has hosted the Desertification Convention in 2017. And China was the president and held the presidency for a very big biodiversity convention, COP15, that landed a whole new agreement we refer to as the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. So China has been stepping up, China on the biodiversity side. But I also have to say that on climate it's very interesting. China is and has made commitment to reach net zero by 2060 and is currently the country that has the highest production and the highest installed capacity of renewable energy. And it is remarkable the speed with which that installation is taking place. So China is showing up in climate and in biodiversity. And we also are counting on China to show a very progressive role in the plastic negotiations that are underway. We are wishing to, and under instructions to, finish the plastic negotiations by the end of 2024, and so that we can get an ambitious treaty text agreed, and we very much hope that China will continue to show the environmental flag at home and at the global level.
What are some of the most impressive projects you've had with China?
Oh, there are so many, but where do I even start? I've had the privilege of visiting Hainan. Very interesting, very unique ecosystem. I'm also aware of the extraordinary work that China is doing in restoration in the northern part of China with amazing ecosystem restoration. I'm aware of what China is doing on anti-desertification, sand and dust storms, which is very interesting. But I will say that where we see China really leading is on renewable energy. The installed capacity, I'm trying to remember, but I think it's like 1,200 megawatts. Extraordinary in terms of installed capacity of renewable. And what is being added on a yearly basis is incredible. So I think that on all of these issues, we're seeing leadership. Where all countries that are rapid and that have large industry are challenged, and so is China, is on the pollution dimension. Solid waste management, recycling, air pollution, and oceans and rivers. And I think China is very much aware of that. And I think it's President Xi who speaks about lush mountains and lucid rivers. And I think that is so poetic and so real, and that sets a very nice goal that every person can relate to.
Thank you very much, Ms. Andersen.
Wonderful.
Thank you very
That's
much.
excellent. Thank you.